Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Sports Debates. Today, we've got the whole crew back. We've got Dwayne, we've got Emmanuel, and we've got Aiden. So, we are going to preview the round two matchups, the divisional round, which begins this Saturday. Some very exciting round one games. So, we'll go through quick recaps of those and then give our updated predictions of how these upcoming games are going to go. First things first, we need to address last week's episode where some of our takes went cold. So the first one, Dwayne and we both had the Chargers making it at least to the AFC Championship. Dwayne had them in the Super Bowl. They proceeded to get pummeled by the Texans, 32-12. So, Dwayne, you were very high on the Chargers. You talked about them a lot last week. How are you feeling?
I mean, as my father likes to say, any given Sunday. So that's what happened. That Sunday, the Chargers just didn't play as they were supposed to. I mean, they could have definitely played better, but even with them playing better, they still probably would have lost to how the Texans were playing. Like the defense was on point on every mistake. Even if you make two mistakes, the defense still is going to be at you. You can't beat the term every given Sunday. So
Well, you did have your breakout player pick, which was Russell Wilson. You said that he was going to have a good game. You had the Steelers winning. They didn't win, but Wilson didn't have a bad game. Right?
yeah,
270 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. So we'll give you that one. Emmanuel, your breakout player pick was Quentin Johnston of the Chargers. Now, if he did anything, it would have been a good pick, but he proceeded to do absolutely nothing. 0 receiving yards on 5 targets. So, how you feeling about that one?
Honestly, it kind of stings a bit. I was kind of hoping this playoffs would really be time for him to shine and, knock off that bust rumor. But clearly he showed he's a complete bust. He does not deserve a spot on the NFL roster. I have no problem saying that.
All right. Well, Aiden, you were safe, but you got to be careful this week. Don't make any bad takes.
Did you not have any takes that went
Well,
cold?
thankfully, my power cut out before we got to the surprise player, so I was
Oh,
wait, who
saved
was
my
it?
pick there. We'll never know.
Oh, that's crazy.
So let's get into the matchups for this week. We'll start with the Texans, who surprised us all by beating the Chargers. We all had the Chargers moving on, but it was the Texans who won 32-12, and they were powered by their defense. 4 interceptions off Justin Herbert. The pass rush was a force to be reckoned with. And CJ Stroud came alive, 282 passing yards, Mixon, 106 yards on the ground. So they have momentum moving forward here, but they run into the reigning two-time champion Kansas City Chiefs. 15-2 in the regular season, 4-1 to close it out. They've won 16 straight home games, 11 comeback wins this season. They haven't lost at home since Christmas of 2023. And of course, they are the two-time defending champions. Although this year seemed a little off for them. They weren't as scary. They had a lot of, as you would say, lucky wins, or seemed like they had some black magic on their side. Mahomes and Kelsey weren't as explosive as usual. So, Aiden, we'll start with you. Do you think the Texans can keep this momentum going and give the Chiefs some problems, or is this an easy Chiefs win?
yeah. I think I definitely wish that I could say the Texans would, but I don't think they will. I think the Chiefs, like you said, they had some shakier moments sort of in the middle of the season, but I think they really have come on strong towards the end of the season. If we remember, I think they beat the Texans 27-19 a few weeks ago. And before this Chargers game, the Texans really, their offense was really struggling. And if it wasn't for 4 picks, I think Justin Herbert's worst game of his career, I don't think that the Texans would even be here. So of course, I want the Texans to win. Everybody loves Stroud and everybody likes to hate on the Chiefs. But I just think Mahomes in January in the playoffs at home, I don't think the Texans have much of a chance. But we'll see. Who knows? I might be wrong.
Manuel, do you agree?
Actually, I disagree. Um, I think this year is the best year to bet against the Chiefs. They are arguably probably the worst version of the Chiefs. Even though, mind you, they have been banged up, this is probably the worst version of the Chiefs we have seen in a while. And the way the Texans were looking against the Chargers, mind you, to be fair, I was really high on the Chargers and they really disappointed me last week. But the Texans looked really good, like a serious contender good, when we thought they were going to be a first round exit. And honestly, that their whole team looked great. Their run game was good with Joe Mixon. CJ Stroud did great, and the defense for the Texans really showed up and showed out. So yeah, I'm going to rock with the Texans here.
I hate to be that guy, but I just see Kansas City winning, and not because of their own means. I'm just going to be honest, because of some really bad call. I don't see them winning by the means of their better team at the moment. Sure, record wise, they look great, but they yet again haven't been having the greatest season they are known to be having. Patrick Mahomes not having the greatest season he has usually been having. Sure, he's still a great quarterback season, but not a Patrick Mahomes season. So that's the big difference in Kansas City when it comes to their players, but when it comes to just how games have been going for them and way things have been leaning, Kansas City is definitely going to win this one.
Yeah, like usually I'm gonna root against the team that has momentum, or root for the team that has momentum. But it's just like in the back of my head, I'm just like the Chiefs are just gonna find a way. I don't think they go to the Super Bowl this year, but I do think they win this game. But it's not going to be easy. I think it's going to be harder than they're expecting. The Texans defense was just scary, and their pass rush especially. So Mahomes is going to have to be on his feet a lot. He's going to have to move around, and he's pretty good at the scramble game. So I think he'll be up for that challenge, but he's going to have to work harder than I think we're all expecting. But I think they pull it out. So now we move on to a big matchup, the 3-2 Ravens and Bills. That's Sunday at 6:30. So tune into that one. So the Ravens took down their division rival Steelers pretty easy, 28-14. Lamar and Derrick Henry, 267 combined rush yards. Jackson also threw for 175 pass yards, 2 touchdowns. All around Ravens dominance. The Bills also dominated, 31-7 against the Broncos. 31 unanswered points after going down 7-0. Josh Allen, 272 pass yards, 2 touchdowns. So both the MVP favorites dominated in the first round. And now they go head to head. So Dwayne, who do you got?
Ravens, 100%. I mean, look at. I love Josh Allen, and I think Josh Allen is. I mean, they're interchangeable when it comes to MVP wise, in my opinion. What I see in the Ravens offense is a crazy running back, in which the Bills do not have. And it's not to diminish the Bills; their offense is great, but I see more of that duo they have in Baltimore than I see Josh Allen trying to make an attempt with the team he has. Not saying that they're bad. I just think the offensive set of Baltimore is better than the Bills at this current moment from what we saw last game. If they're able to do what they did, which I believe they can, at least 10-point win.
Yeah, I'm gonna rock with the Ravens on this one. Honestly, it's going to be a shootout game, but I believe in the Baltimore Ravens defense to really show up when they need them the most to get a stop against Josh Allen. I'm pretty sure Josh Allen's going to get the ball with like 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, driving, but I think the Ravens are going to stop him, and I think the Ravens are going to win and upset the Bills.
I'm gonna be contrarian here. I think contrarian not just to you guys, but I feel like the consensus is the Ravens in this one. When I think it's a toss up ultimately. I'm picking the Bills just barely, and I think you got to look at the quarterback that loses this game is most likely going to face a lot of haters saying that they can't win the big game. They can't make it to the Super Bowl, right? I mean, both these quarterbacks, Lamar especially has lost in the first or second round. I think every game in the playoffs. I trust Josh Allen a little bit more. Both of them have had amazing seasons, but I trust Josh Allen at a bigger spot. As good as the Ravens defense has looked, I think the Bills defense has played really well in the last few weeks, and it'll be a shootout. It will be really close. I don't think it'll be a 10-point win, from the Ravens, Dwayne, but I think I'm gonna ride Josh Allen. I'm gonna trust him, and all the weapons he has. And hey, don't sleep on James Cook either. James Cook does not get nearly the carries that Derrick Henry does, but he was just as efficient in the Bills win against the Broncos. So I'd pick the Bills just barely.
I'm also going with the Bills. This is the original matchup that I had in my predictions. I'm sticking with it. Just now, I was looking at the Bills' defense against the run game. They were kind of middle of the pack, 115 rush yards per game. Ravens, of course, like the best rush team in the sport. So it's an interesting matchup there, but I think it's just going to be a shootout. And the last time I said a game was going to be a shootout, didn't really be a shootout. Said that about the Commanders, Buccaneers. But I do think this one is going to be. And just like I said, I trusted Baker over Daniels. So maybe this is going to backfire, but I trust Allen over Lamar in a shootout. I think he just like comes up big when they need a touchdown. So I'm going with the Bills. This is a very exciting game, and I'll honestly be happy with whoever wins because I like both those quarterbacks. Do we think that we should just give MVP to whoever wins the game? I mean, at this point, like,
I'm down.
Fortunately, not how it works,
Yeah,
but maybe it should.
yeah.
all right. So on to the NFC, and it's the 6 seed Commanders facing the 1 seed Lions. This is Saturday night. So the Commanders took down the Buccaneers. It was a close one at the end. They won on a field goal, 23-20. Daniels showed that he was built for the bright lights. He is not your typical rookie. 268 pass yards, 2 pass touchdowns. And the Commanders' defense stopped the run game for the Buccaneers, just 101 rush yards overall, and really good defense overall the whole game. But they're going to face one of the best offenses in the sport, the Detroit Lions. 15-2 on the season, top record in the NFC. They were actually the highest scoring offense, 33.2 points per game. They were elite with the fourth down in the red zone. You're not stopping them there. Their defense is a little banged up. They allowed 30 plus points to Buffalo, Green Bay, San Francisco, some good offenses late in the season. So it's to be seen if that continues on into the playoffs. So, Manuel, Lions or do the Commanders ride momentum?
I think I would be an absolute lunatic to say the Commanders dethrone the number 1 seed. So I won't. I won't even entertain the idea. It has to be the Lions. It's going to be an absolutely perfect game. It's definitely going to be a high scoring game. Whether that means it's going to be a beatdown for the Commanders, I don't know. But the Lions have been banged up the entire season, and due to having such an early bye, they haven't had really any time to rest. Now that they got that divisional bye, I think they had the chance to rest, and I think the Commanders are about to face those still injured Lions, a very rested team, and they're going to beat the crap out of the Commanders by at least like 14 plus.
I hate to agree because I do want Jaden Daniels to do well. When we look at 1 seeds and we look at both sides, we obviously can tell Detroit is that team. They've been that team all year. I would hope Washington wins because that would be such a story. But I digress. I mean, Detroit's probably going to mollywop them, to be honest. Like, it's just unfair. It's just the way Detroit is. They've been all season. They stay consistent. I mean, as you can see, look at the record. They had a week off.
Yeah, I think I'll go for the Lions as well. Certainly two teams that I think most of America really does like. I mean, everybody loves watching Jaden Daniels play, and the Lions are just the most fun team in the league. So, I mean, either way, I think people will be happy. I think that the Lions will have a really easy time moving the ball against this Commanders defense, and I think that they'll be able to get stops. Their defense played really well in that Vikings game. Although it doesn't look as good in retrospect with how the Vikings played, but I think that the Lions do really play physical, and as good as Daniels is, that crowd's gonna be really on their feet against the Commanders, and I think they just don't have enough weapons to compete with this high powering Lions offense. Definitely looking to go over a high scoring game probably, but I think it'll be somewhat close. I think it'll be, maybe Lions by 7. I don't think they'll blow them out, but I definitely go with the Lions.
Yeah, I agree that it will be closer than I think we expect. The Lions will still win, but I think we're going to walk out of this game being like, okay, Jaden Daniels can go toe to toe with the best teams in the league. And I think he's really going to put himself on the map in this game. He played well in front of a rowdy Buccaneers crowd. I think we're gonna walk out of here and be like, wow, he could be among the best in the game. No lights are too bright for him. And I think it's going to be just a little closer than we think. But Lions still win. And now the Rams and the Eagles. We'll probably spend a little more time on this just because we are Birds fans. So this is Sunday afternoon, and our Eagles took down the Packers 22-10. Our defense, 3 interceptions. The offense was a little streaky. They came out hot, got the turnover, scored in like 2 minutes, then didn't score another touchdown until the end of the third quarter. But the Eagles, they're at home, where they're unstoppable, 9-1 at home. And they bring in a Rams team, which they've already beat this season. Barkley ran for 255 yards on them. The Rams, though, they are hot. They've got momentum. They just embarrassed the Vikings 27-9. Their rush defense took down Darnold 9 times. They were coming in hot. Stafford played well, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns. Is Barkley going to run through them again? Are they going to make adjustments? The Eagles pass game. There's a lot of narratives. So I'm going to start with you and take a look at the offense. So this has been the talking point recent weeks. We know what Barkley can do. The passing game. A.J. Brown's reading a book on the bench. Does he feel like he can do more? They scored touchdowns, but they also looked like there were some weaknesses there. Do you have any concerns from what you saw on Sunday? And how do you think they match up against the Rams offensively?
I'm worried as an Eagles fan. I really am. Honestly, it's more so based on how the Rams looked, as opposed to how the Eagles looked. I think certainly our offense struggled. The passing game was not functioning super well. AJ Brown was definitely frustrated to a degree. I think some of that can be attributed to Hurts's rust, but definitely worried there. I think that they'll turn it around in the passing game. But what I'm really worried about in this matchup is the coaching disadvantages. I watched that Rams Vikings game, and what I noticed was the Rams knew everything that the Vikings were going to do. It felt like Sean McVay was reading them like a book the whole game. I really worry that similarly might happen to the Eagles with a somewhat predictable offense. And I think McVay versus Sirianni, that matchup will keep Eagles fans up at night. So we definitely have cause for concern.
Man, I want to bring the defense to you. The Eagles defense has been way more consistent than their offense. They've been the one saving grace. Little banged up though. Nakobe Dean's out for the rest of the playoffs. Darius Slay left. He was okay, but he's always got some injury concern there. Packers didn't pick him apart too much. Only 1 touchdown drive. Rams seem to be a little better of an offense. How do you feel about the defense heading into this?
I have no worries about the Eagles defense whatsoever coming into this matchup. Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, who did phenomenal when they were requested to, or when they had to guard against Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua earlier on in the season, did pretty well on their own. A little worried about Slay. I hope he can come back to at least like maybe 90%. Our pass rush is going to be what's really there. I think Jalen Carter is going to be the star of the game for them. I think he's going to have a phenomenal game, and I think he's going to make Stafford really uncomfortable in the pocket.
So Dwayne, just overall in this matchup, you were the one person to have the Rams go through, so we'll give you your flowers for that one. So how do you see this matchup overall? Looking at all the different parts of the teams, is this a closer game than it might seem, or do the Eagles have the advantage for most of it?
This is a close game in the sense that this might be similar to Washington and Bucks game. Like it's going to come down. I feel like it's going to come down to one drive because I'm very hesitant when it comes to our passing. I trust that we can win this, but I am also on the fence on saying that this is going to be an easy or even like somewhat medium win. This is going to be a down in the mud, dirty win.
From watching that game, a lot of the Rams' momentum came from their defense. Like I mentioned, they sacked Darnold 9 times, which gave them a lot of momentum. But I don't think it's going to be that easy against the Eagles O-line. But I definitely do think that the Rams, their team is built for the playoffs. It was just a few years ago that this team won the whole thing, led by Matthew Stafford. They don't have their Hall of Fame defenders that they had that year, but they have a really good defense still. I think it's definitely going to be closer than we all would like, and I think their concerns arose in this last game. I'm picking the Eagles. It's especially assuming you're matching up with the Lions in the NFC Championship. You want to have a blowout win heading into them because the Lions are going to have an easier job. But I trust us in front of the Philly crowd. Our defense is better. And I do trust that Hurts is going to show us that he can throw the ball. I think he is. I think the media likes to paint a picture. There's some bad blood in the locker room. The last time they said he couldn't throw, the next game he showed it. And so I think when they need to, I think he will. Maybe I trust him a little too much. But I think that this team is they're good at stomping the narrative that the media wants to create. They do their own thing, but we'll see. But that was an interesting point, Aiden, about the coaches. I do think two very different coaches there. You got like McVay thinks about it more, it seems. Sirianni's just like, we'll do our thing, a little cocky, but it'll be an interesting matchup for sure.
When you worried about what the Rams did against the Vikings, sacking Sam Darnold 9 times, I'm very concerned for Jalen Hurts, not because of the O-line, but because of Hurts' ability to have his pocket presence. Earlier in the season, I've seen him struggle with it. He'll step up, or he just doesn't make the right play in the moment, or he doesn't sense the pressure, or doesn't pick up the blitz before the ball is snapped. And I'm not feeling very confident about that. I feel like Jared Verse for the Rams might have a field day.
Yeah, I would say look for the Eagles to come out slow out of the gate. The only reason they didn't this last game was because of that fumble, and I think they tend to struggle in their game script early in the games when they have all their plays lined up for what they want to do, and we saw that where they wouldn't score in the first quarter. Whereas I think the Rams will be the complete opposite. I think that they will have success early on because of their coaching and game script. So I think it'll be another one of those games where the Eagles fans are sweating it out early, and the crowd really has to be self-controlled, and the murmur cannot start, and they can't start booing the team in the first and second quarter because that really is not going to help. And I feel like people have to kind of expect them to come out slow as they typically do. But I would agree. I have the Eagles winning. I just have to back them as a homer pick.
All right, so we'll close with the same question that we closed with last week. See if we can do a little better with our picks for surprise breakout players for round 2. So players that may put up some good numbers in the box score that we're not expecting. So Manuel, start with you. See if you can redeem yourself here.
Okay, I'm really banking on him showing up for me this week, even though he is playing our team this week. I'm gonna go with Jared Verse, the defensive end for the Rams. I think he's, like I said before, I think he's gonna have a field day, and he did pretty well against the Vikings. And so, since the offense failed me last week, I'm gonna pick a defensive player this time.
Got Gibbs, running back for the Lions. Feel like he's going to have a great game, or one of those games where you're like, oh, I didn't know you could do all that.
Yeah, I was gonna pick Gibbs, but you said somebody not as high profile. So I want to give shouts to Ty Johnson, the receiving back on the Bills. He had a good game. He had a touchdown early in that game. Incredible back of the end zone catch. And he's really underrated, doesn't get as much praise as he should. And I think that he's going to have a lot of opportunities, especially with how good the Ravens D line is and their ability to stop the run. So I think that he's going to be in the game more, receiving out of the backfield. And I expect him to have a good game.
I'm also going with the Bills receiver, looking at a guy who hasn't really gotten a whole lot of targets or receptions for them since coming over in a trade. Amari Cooper. The last few games, Curtis Samuel had a touchdown last week. Shakir got a lot of receptions. So I think those guys will be the primary focus, the Ravens secondary. So I think we're going to see Amari Cooper just kind of sneak in there for a drive, catch a touchdown. They weren't expecting it. again, he hasn't been getting a lot. Looking at his game log, like he's not getting a lot of targets. He's been banged up a little bit, but I think he's a guy that has that veteranship and experience that I think if the Ravens starting to shut him down, Josh Allen will go to his guy that he can trust. So
Keep an eye. I'm not. I believe he's still playing. I don't think he's hurt. Xavier Worthy off of the Kansas City Chiefs. I feel like he might also have a pretty good game this week.
You know who I feel is
Okay.
going to have a cold day, but they're still going to win? Patrick Mahomes. I feel like he's going to have a not great necessarily. It's kind of funny you have to put that in that standard, but like Patrick Mahomes type game. I feel like he's not going to have that game where he just looks like himself. Still going to have an okay game. They're still going to win, but I feel like he's going to be ice cold.
I gotta disagree with that one. I think he'll look extra Mahomey. Chris Collinsworth in the booth. I think he's gonna look great that game.
definitely an exciting slate of games. Start Saturday afternoon, run through Sunday. We'll be back hopefully next week to break those games down and preview championships for both the AFC and NFC. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.